All right, welcome and hello and welcome. We are back for another edition of Logician Tim Learns with me, your host, Logician Tim. So tonight we're going to be going over magic in the world of The Witcher and what it is, where did it come from, how to learn magic, what's the cost of using magic, and all that kind of fun stuff. So when they start talking about magic in the world of The Witcher, they say that magic is profoundly dangerous art as well as a well-researched and documented science. So after this cataclysmic type event called the conjunction of spheres that I talked about before, certain people started to be born with varying magical abilities all over the globe. So a very small fraction are going to be able to become full-fledged mages, and they're sent to magical academies where they're taught how to utilize their power before it becomes too dangerous for them and the people around them. If you're born with some ability, you don't know how to control it, it could definitely get out of hand. Most people, that if you have any ability, it's very small. And then there's a small fraction that have enough capability to become a mage. And then a super small fraction, like a very rarest, are those that are born with crazy amounts of magical abilities. And those people are known as sources. When sources are identified, they're immediately sent to an academy or a druid circle to be tutored by a mage. And so, because they say if they don't get the proper training, the power will actually drive them mad, that they'll become drooling, sputtering lunatics plagued by visions and bursting with uncontrolled magic. Kind of sounds like me when I don't have my coffee. So you have those kind of three types of people that are just born with magic, and a couple of them are going to get training. Okay, in this world, magic is referred to as primal chaos. I like that name, primal chaos. And it comes from 4 elemental planes that encircle the globe. So you have the earth magic, which is very accessible, but it says it's not very efficient transmitter of energies. So it requires a lot of work to summon, but the power it holds is immense. It holds a lot of power. Air magic, they say, is real fickle and difficult to control. It's easy to access, but grabbing enough of this stuff to make a spell is very difficult, and certain intuition is kind of required to be able to cast air magic efficiently. Then you have fire magic, which they say is the most destructive magic, and it's the most chaotic of all the elements. It's really easy to summon, and it provides the power very quickly. But the only problem is that young or inexperienced mages, they say they have a difficult time halting the magic, and where to cut it off at, and it'll overload their bodies and cause dramatic effects. So I've still got my sinuses going on, my nose is itching. And then finally you have water magic, which is considered the easiest to learn and is often used when training young mages in the world of magic. So it's the easiest one. And quickly we'll talk about Vigor. Vigor, we talked about the other night, is kind of like the mana, okay? And so when you have your Vigor stat, when you cast a spell or an incantation, those type of things, it costs Vigor. And Vigor is almost like stamina, where you do have a recovery trait, and so each round you're going to recover whatever your recovery trait is, whatever that number is, back in vigor and stamina. So it does cost something to cast spells. They say it's an intangible measurement of how much chaos you can channel through your body at any one time. Exceeding that amount can be extremely dangerous to you. So yeah, there are dangers in magic. Spells, rituals, and other types of magic that require a mage not only to draw energy from, another realm, but they also use their own bodies to channel it like a conduit for the spell. It does cost them something, and a mage that draws too much energy through their body without having enough vigor, it says they'll suffer from excruciating pain, and the magic will just bleed out of them. Okay, and so each one of these elements are going to affect people a different way. So like earth magic will actually lock up your joints, making it impossible for you to move, where air magic says it explodes out of the mage, throwing them from their feet, so it kind of knocks you back. And then fire magic will ignite the mage into a pyre of colored flame. And then finally, water magic will begin to freeze the mage, causing ice crystals to form on the skin and also the clothing. But they also have a fifth type, which is like the mixed element magic. So a lot of spells, they say, require more than one element to be pulled from, and they call those the mixed element. So if you overdo it while you're casting mixed element, magic will blow out unpredictably, but one element will actually come to the forefront. So let's say you're using fire and air, for example, and you're casting something, but you overdo it. It's going to be coming out like crazy, but maybe fire takes over, or the air will take over. One of those effects will start to take over you. And they also talk quickly about the range of spells. But they talk about the ranges of magic is very short compared to like crossbows or other ranged weapons. And it says because containing the power that it takes to harness this magic is very difficult, and that mages in combat tend to be similar to grenadiers, so great power, but in shorter range. So you're going to notice that the range on these spells and this magic is very short, like 10 meters or something like that. When we're looking at these different types of spells in these classes, they have 3 basic levels. So they have the novice spells. So it tells you like the element. This one's mixed: earth, air, fire, and water. And this is just for mage. And then then you have novice spells, and it has their whole list of novice spells, journeyman spells, and then finally your master spells. So they have it all listed for you for the nice, easy charts. You can quickly look over here and go, all right, was that earth, or was that water, or was that journeyman? And so you can quickly look at that way. And then they break it down in this nice little kind of a menu of spells, if you will. And they do it alphabetically, which is awesome. It's easy for me to find. I can go, okay, this is a novice spell, and it starts with the M. All right, here's the M's, and so I can find it that way. There's some like mind manipulation that you might have to maintain over several rounds. So those are called active. And so every round that I want to keep that active, I have to spend some of my stamina equal to the value of that it tells me here. So it might tell me that it's active, and it's, this one here says it's active and 2 stamina. So every round I'm going to have to spend 2 stamina to keep this spell active. If not, it'll go away. So, and then they have cool stuff like telepathic spying. This sounds so awesome to me. And it says you can use telepathy to silently listen to a target's thoughts. This works the same as regular telepathy. If the target has a Witcher medallion, which, remember that when I was looking at the picture, like that first day, remember the cool Witcher medallion? Yeah. I knew it was for something. But if they have a Witcher medallion, this will cause the medallion to vibrate. And if the target is a mage, it has magic training, they get a chance each round to detect the telepathic spying by rolling sense magic against your initial telepathy roll. So it's kind of neat that you can kind of see somebody and go, hey, I'm gonna kind of see what he's thinking, and spy on them. Glamour, which allows you to cast an illusion around yourself that makes you look stunning. This spell grants you +3 to seduction, charisma, and leadership. And so you can only cast this on yourself, and it has a duration of 1d6 hours. Telekinesis. So telekinesis allows you to lift and manipulate an object as though you were holding it. It has a small range, and it costs a lot. And the bigger the object, the more the cost would be. And then some of the spells are going to be area of effect spells. And of course, it tells you, hey, be careful, because they do hit friendly other players or friendly NPCs. So if you're, can't just run there and just blow everything up without some consequences, right? So sorry, Fred, I blew you up, but the monster's dead. You are too, so I'm gonna grab your stuff. The journeyman spells, the stuff where it gets just better, where a journeyman spell you could teleportation, which is teleporting yourself somewhere else. The master spell of that is called the standing portal. This sounds really awesome. Let me read you this. The standing portal creates a 1 meter by 2 meter floating portal up to 10 meters from you. Stepping through this portal teleports you anywhere you can recall. The portal can transport anything that fits through it. If you end the portal while something is partially through, the portal slices the object or creature in 2. The person is counted as being dismembered as per the critical wound. You can create a portal to a location you don't know as teleportation. It sounds like you can almost use it as, as a weapon, where if you could get something chasing you through it and then close it when it's halfway through, if you time it just right, then you could actually cut that thing in half. That sounds awesome to me. I'm just thinking about it in my head, like, how would that go? Just sounds great. Mages aren't the only types of beings that can cast spells or that can handle magic, right? So that you have your priest class, which is your priest, and your druids, which are more of a faith-based magic. They call their magic invocations, right? And so druids have theirs and preachers have theirs, and then archpriest has them as well. And the same type of thing where they have novice, journeyman, and master in both druid and preacher incantations and invocations. Like one of them is called Nature's Gift, which grows a small cluster of edible plants, not edible pants. That's hot. Edible plants in soil of any kind, and these plants are enough to sustain a number of people equal to the number of stamina points spent for one day. So there's 3 people in our group, and I use 3 stamina. That's enough food for us for an entire day, for our entire group of our edible plants, I guess. The Master Druid invocations, they have things like Shaped Nature. It allows you to create a golem from a small nearby tree. The golem serves you for the duration of the spell and will turn back into a tree when the duration ends. If killed, the golem only yields 2d10 units of timber. So you still get timber from it. In all other ways, the tree acts as a normal golem. And then, of course, your Witcher class has its own type of magic as well. Witchers call them signs. And they say that signs are small magical tricks more than they are like, crazy spells. They're like the dagger to the longsword of spells. Okay, so a sign would be, kind of a really wimpy spell, sort of, I guess. And so they talk about they require really, a really small amount of focus and a small amount of magic. So it's just kind of like a trick to them. Stunning opponents and shooting waves of telekinetic force, staggering opponents and those type of things, but nothing that does crazy amounts of damage like your mage class would. A Witcher can control how much power they give into a spell, and so they could actually back off if they wanted to, and or put in more stamina is what they use for this. If they put in more stamina, the spell gets stronger and it maxes out at 7. So you can stun more enemies or stun them for a longer period of time or something like that, or make it less of a stun. So if you just wanted to smack somebody and knock somebody out for 5 seconds, maybe you could control your power to do that. It talks about learning signs. Witcher's signs are very easily learned. They require a very small amount of magic to cast. Very easy for non-witchers to learn. So if you're a mage or you're a priest or a druid, you could easily learn signs because it would just be like, hey, lighting that candle over there, it's super easy for you. If you got a witcher around, they can quickly teach you how to do their signs. They have what's called rituals. It talks about these rituals aren't really tied to any type of class necessarily. How if you're a mage or you're a druid or something like that, you might know 1 or 2 rituals. Okay, so a ritual, you wouldn't have a whole list of them. You might just know 1 or maybe 2. And because rituals are considered forbidden in the continent, and so they actually say that it's punishable by death in any country, in any place in the continent. So, if you know a ritual, you don't go around flaunting it generally. But it does talk about some of these, and they're really neat to where like some of them will allow you to stare into a body of water and glimpse an event that happened within the last 2 days or that is currently happening. So let's say, I don't know, maybe you can perform this ritual and figure out what's going on if your buddy's trapped over here or held prisoner over here in this camp or something like that. And you'll be able to see that. Or maybe you walk up on this body and you can't figure out what happened. Maybe you can perform this ritual to figure out what happened to it. Now, rituals do take certain items or components to perform, and a lot of the stuff you can find at different merchants, or you might find them along your way. And so this would be something that you might have ready, maybe in a little kit that you can easily get out and perform. Something you might not do in the middle of a fight because it takes a little bit of time. Again, this one taking 5 rounds. It looks like most of them take 5 rounds to prepare. So that's a long time if you're in the middle of a fight to sit out for something. The ritual of magic, it creates a magic circle which bolsters the tolerance and the vigor for those that enter it. And so this kind of seems neat to me. So if you're about to enter this big, I don't know, a boss fight or something like that, and somebody can do this ritual of magic, and the first person with magical ability to enter the circle will get these types of bonuses, which last for 5 hours. You can perform this ritual, walk in it and get this buff for 5 hours, and then maybe somebody else performs the same ritual and get this buff. And right before you're about to go into a boss fight might be a smart thing to do. Tons and tons of these as well, journeyman and master rituals, where you can actually craft golems, all types of illusion type spells that you can do, or rituals that you can do. And then finally you have hexes. Okay, and so hexes can be cast by mages or priests, just like they would invocations or spells. And these are the weakest of the bunch, right? And so they cost some stamina. When you throw them out there, talk about one that's like the eternal itch. It causes inflamed, itchy pustules to grow on the subject's genitals. So this is a hex that you can put on somebody that causes them to scratch their balls all the time. And the itch doesn't do any damage, but it's a constant annoyance, which causes them -1 to all tasks, as well as -5 to seduction once in the bedroom. So yeah, you can do all types of annoying little things. You can give people nightmares where they can't sleep. You can make them what's called the pestis kiss, which makes them nauseous if they smell anything just remotely not favorable, and it makes them very susceptible to becoming ill. Look at this one, the Hex of Shadows. It creates whispers in the shadows and silhouettes around corners. The subject must make random awareness checks with an unspecified difficulty check, always almost catching a glimpse of something or someone. The awareness checks are never a real threat, just visions. So it just kind of drives them nuts a little bit, right? I think that's awesome. So yeah, when you're using magic, there's also places of power. Okay, and these are magical ruins left behind by ancient elven mages. Okay, and they're constructed at these conjunction points. And when a magical person spends 3 full turns in these places of power, and they're focused on this place of power, they get a temporary bonus based on the element that place is tied to. They also get 10 IP, which are the improvement points, which they can only use on learning magic or raising magical skills. If you run into one of these places of power and you chill out there for 3 turns and they're focused on it, you'll get this boost to your elemental spells, and then you'll also get 10 improvement points. I just see IP, improvement points, to be able to use to level up your skills. So they have these places of power, and each one has their own type of place. Like Earth is found along fault lines or in the depths or natural sinkholes and caverns. And your benefit is your Vigor threshold or Earth magic goes up by 5, and spell casting is considered 2 points higher for earth-based magic, and this will last for an hour. And so each one of these has their own type of places. The air one, this is kind of cool. They're found in areas where tornadoes are common and at the tops of high mountains. And the same type of similar buffs for fire and water as well that last for about an hour. So if you run across one of these places, or what might be one of these places, you're definitely wanting to spend a few rounds just sitting there and sucking up some of those IP points and getting that buff as well. Let's talk about learning magic a little bit. So when you're learning magic, only those born with magic are capable of learning it, and that makes sense, right? So if you didn't start it with Vigor, if your Vigor is 0 or lower, then you're not capable of learning magic at all. Okay, you're not a magic person. You won't be able to learn any type of magic. And so each profession is going to learn magic a little bit differently. Like I said, mages can learn spells, rituals, hexes, and signs. Priests can learn invocations, rituals, hexes, and signs. And witchers are only capable of learning signs. But mages cannot learn invocations, and priests cannot learn spells. When you're learning a new spell, there's basically the 3 ways that you can learn a spell, okay? So the first way is to find someone or something to teach you the spell, the hex, the ritual, whatever it may be. And that can be, another magic user or a tome or something like that that you find, and that can teach you a new spell or hex or something. Secondly, you can acquire the IP to learn it, which is similar to learning skills, okay? And so they have a chart on here. So if your magic, if the spell that you're trying to learn is novice or low, it requires 10 IP. It takes 4 days to learn. The learning difficulty is 14, and learning checks are 2. And of course, all those go up as you're trying to go up in the difficulty level. So if you're trying to get something that's at master level, instead of 10 IP, it takes 30 IP. Instead of 4 days to learn, it takes 3 weeks to learn, and a lot higher difficulty as well. The third way is you spend a week learning the spell. You must make a number of successful learning rolls in that week. So you're basically saying, I'm going to try to learn this spell, and I'm going to roll the dice. If you fail on one of the rolls, you have to try again, but on the next day. I think that's about it for the magic section tonight. The magic is really interesting in here, and if you're you're one of those type of people like I am that enjoy performing magic, then definitely roll up a mage or a priest or something like that. That's it for me tonight. I will see you all tomorrow night, and we're going to be talking about craftsman and being an alchemist in the Witcher RPG. I will talk to you tomorrow night. Y'all have a great one. We'll see you next time. Bye.